Board. All right. Welcome to the weekly Rebel Roundtable. What is today? The 4th? No, the 5th of December. We start every meeting by reading the 4 agreements or the 4 Rebel rules as I have come up with them, and no one has told me that they disagree with them too much. So I'm going to keep reading them until someone tells me otherwise. The Restoration Rebels push the agenda of the Restoration 2.0 movement. Our purpose is to empower and educate the insurance consumer in order to create a more fair claims process. Rebel rule number 1, I will protect the value of my services. I will never provide free services, as these only serve to erode the value of contractor services industry-wide. Rebel rule number 2, I will practice incredible transparency in my communications. I will explain our processes in detail to my client. I will never hide details or manipulate reports. I will never communicate with a third party without also communicating with my clients. Rebel rule number 3, I do not believe in competition. The restoration companies in my market are part of my community. I will be an active member of the restoration community. It is our unbreakable unity that will create the change that we strive for. I want to talk about rule number 3. I've had some pushback on that recently, and I will address that in a moment. Rebel rule number 4, I am willing to walk away from any project, client, or contract that is not compatible with my values and stated mission. No relationship is worth taking part in if it requires losing money, sleep, or my humanity. Welcome, welcome, welcome. 24 people in the group. We're going to have more come on, I'm sure. I'm seeing a lot of good, familiar faces. Mr. Joe Ledbetter. Let's lead off with Mr. Joe Ledbetter before I go into my rant that I have so prepared. Joe, tell me what you have cooking. We put together a survey to collect some information and try to put together a Rebel roadmap, as it were, national map on Google Maps. How do we do?
Yeah, it turned out great. I just shared it with you, as you saw. It's got the Rebel logos on there. It's got all the right information in there. And for everybody that's listening tonight, if you fill out the form, you'll already know that we ask a lot of questions, right, as the admins. We wanted to understand a little bit about who our group was. Just so everybody's understanding, though, we did not publish all of that information. We simply kept it to the basic fundamentals, your company, your website, your contact information, your location, etc., and the services you offer. But it turned out awesome. We're ready to publish it. The thing looks beautiful. I don't know, Andy, if you had a chance to see it.
Where did you send that to? Where did you?
One of your many emails.
Yeah, right. All right, let me pull up my email. So tell me about, for those who don't understand the concept behind why we're doing this, explain why we're doing this.
Well, really, I mean, the goal is to. So here's the thing, right? We have this Facebook thread. We communicate on LinkedIn. We talk on the phone, right? We have all these conversations going, and we're talking as a group, but there's no visualization. What this gives us is a visualization of who our colleagues are. Oh, look, I just get a call from a vendor, and he's in Oklahoma, as an example. Well, who's in Oklahoma? Who can help work the process? Who's going to have like-minded mindsets? I'm going to be looking to expand my business. Where are other Rebels doing? Like, it just gives us something graphical to understand that, in my opinion, I think it just kind of tells us how big we really are.
We have a map like that.
And then what about SEO?
Yeah, so SEO, ultimately, I mean, the goal is to help generate some SEO for everybody and generate some work at some point. We're not talking about doing that today or tomorrow. We got to continue to build it, but it's going to be a presence. I mean, shortly enough, there's going to be more dots in our map than there are ServPros on their map, and that's just the reality of it. So we just have to keep pushing to get people in the group. But what Andy's got up on the computer there is just a screenshot, but those are the starts of all the people that filled out all of the information. So they got the Rebel icon, they got their company name below it. To the left, when you hover, it gives you all their static information, how to contact them, hyperlinks, etc. It's very interactive. It's very cool. I think as a group, we're all really proud of where it's getting.
We're highlighting SanFranciscoFloodRepair.com, Mr. Michael Taboyan. I didn't see him on the call yet, but there he is.
Guys, I see that Montana's open. I'm going to claim it.
Yeah.
I haven't filled out my form yet, so
I have not filled out my form, and I haven't even received one either, so I need to get that.
It's pinned to
Thank
the
you.
top. It's pinned to the top of the group. So, the first post. All right. Let's talk about what happened today. I got a message that a national franchise group reached out to a rebel. All right, I'm gonna turn off. How do I stop my share? There we go. A national franchise group reached out to a restoration rebel and said they took exception to something that they were saying to us about their group or their national franchise. And I am here to tell everyone that is probably not on this call, but everyone that will watch this call or everyone that's lurking in the group, just watching and waiting and checking things out, we're going to have opinions that will upset you. I guarantee it. I don't guarantee a lot of things, but I do guarantee that I'm going to say something or someone here is going to say something that will be upsetting to you. And if you can't handle it, get out of my freaking kitchen, because this is mine. This is ours. We are not going to let anyone come in here and tell us how to do what we want to do. That's it. It is that simple. That's the reason we're not selling advertising. That's the reason we're really hesitant to go down the road of, okay, how do we generate revenue and develop the group the way we need to develop it. There's a lot of things we'd like to do, and a lot of things take money. But there's a reason that I have not been quick to say, oh yeah, why don't we get Dry Ease in here and sponsor some stuff and let's get some banner ads. No, because we are independent. And the reason we're all here is because we think differently and we want things to be different. And if you're coming in here with your attitude of like, well, I don't think you should do it that way. Well, great. Start your own freaking group and do it your way. This is how we're doing it here. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
All right.
Amen.
Good.
Oh.
Amen.
Yup.
So, yes, and yes. I want to talk about who's here for the first time. Let's do a little bit of a round. Mr. Dean raised his hand first. Dean Malstedt, where are you at? Can you unmute yourself? There you go.
50 miles west of Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Minneapolis, Minnesota. What are you doing?
Restoration work, fire, water. We did mold. We're done with mold now. I do consulting for mold.
Perfect. Well, welcome. Welcome aboard. I'll send you a pirate flag. I'm feeling salty today. Nice. I think Mr. Mike Davis said it best, says you don't fuck with my family. You don't do it. All right, Anthony.
That's the way I roll.
You were here last week, no?
What's that?
Anthony, first timer. Tell me where you are and what you're doing.
Central Maryland and doing water, smoke, fire, and mold.
Good for you. Welcome.
Thank
Where
you.
at in Maryland?
Southern Carroll County.
Okay, like Mount Airy area?
Yeah, I have no idea who's talking right now, though.
Yeah. I think it was Trey.
That would be Clark, I believe.
Oh.
I'm going to blame it on Clark or the other Andy McCabe. Welcome to the party, Mr. Clark. All right, who else first timer here tonight?
I am.
All right, Micah, what's up, man? Where you at? What are you doing?
I oversee the reconstruction for ServPro in Lee Summit, the east side of Kansas City, and then I did work for 2 other franchises, and I started following your stuff about 6 weeks ago. And then I worked with a roofing contractor that does siding, windows, and restoration. He follows your stuff. He had me up with a public adjuster. He's a big fan. He's actually a member of the group. Kenneth Stokes at Overland Park. So it all kind of connected, and I've been following your stuff and just trying to learn everything I can to use it to my advantage and benefit our company.
That's what we're here for. Welcome, man. Thanks for coming.
Hey, Andy.
Yes, sir.
Nice to see another ServPro guy.
That's right.
Let's push pause for just a minute. We got a lot of people that can't get on the call. Let's try to figure out what's going on. Does anybody else have a problem getting on here?
I'm going to redo the link. They need to click on the link. I know there's a little bit of a delay into the Facebook page. I'm going to repost that link.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people saying they're trying to get in. So let's.
All right.
I had a problem, but then I just typed in the ID code on the search.
Right.
And then
I think the link wasn't working, Andy, and it was
that one's got the link that
we had problems too.
Well, the link on the calendar invite is not correct, but the link I just posted into the event page is correct.
The only way I could get in was through the link that you sent in an email.
Okay, I just got it through the event page. So
you got it through the event page. Yep.
Can whoever?
I'm gonna continue recording now. We got 31 people here. That's good. I think we'll probably get to 40 by the end. We'll have some stragglers. We had some wins this week. I tell you what, 3 different companies. Liberty Mutual. We got confirmation of a Liberty Mutual residential mitigation paid overhead and profit. They fought, but let me read you guys. I'm going to read you.
Hey, speaking of that real quick, they've done that twice to me in the last month. So Liberty Mutual is getting for it.
Denied overhead and profit on mitigation?
And then paid it.
Yeah, I think they're coming around.
Consistent.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
Listen,
but 90% of the people will just, they're not going to pay it. There you go. But no, we kept resubmitting the invoice and it got paid. So,
Jason, can you go over how you justified that? Or did you pull in 3 trades? Or how?
No.
That was never even into conversation.
Yeah,
it was more about
exactly.
do we pay it or not. It didn't have anything to do with how many subcontractors I had or did not have. It's you pay it or you don't.
Listen to this. Name omitted. While I appreciate your willingness to negotiate, I am not licensed in the state of wherever to negotiate an insurance claim on behalf of your insured. It would be illegal for me to do so. In addition, as mentioned previously, this is an invoice for work that has been performed, not an estimate to be negotiated. O&P is a valid charge, as stated in the white pages of Exactware. So, if this is not something you are willing to pay for, I will make your insured aware of it and inform them that we will be billing them directly for it. I am certain they will want you to show them the exclusion in the policy stating that it is not covered and not covered expense and that they are liable for paying it. Thank you, and please advise as to your decision so we can proceed accordingly. Out of courtesy, this is the kicker right here, right at the end. Out of courtesy, I will not address it with the insured until I hear back from you. Next email. We're paying it full. Bye.
Nice.
Check goes out today.
Nice.
Boom. I mean, we just got to keep pushing and keep pushing. We can't give in. They have to. That's a win, baby. That's a win. That's the 3rd company this week. All right. We want to talk about compensation for technicians. I've done it where there's commission structure, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I think Clark has a really good take on water damage technician or technicians in general compensation. So take it away, Clark.
Yeah, and I want to preface this, and by the way, I think Dawn, did you make it on the call this week? Dawn was looking for, there she is. Dawn was looking for this specific information. So my platform, my format won't work for everyone, but I want to put it out there because I think it can probably fit into a lot of people's. Our technicians at our company are our front line. We don't have project managers. We have invested a lot of time and training into our technicians to be, we treat restoration like service calls. So much like your plumber, your HVAC, your Orkin guy. So we respond in the same timeline, be there in an hour. But the first person on site is a technician and his helper, possibly if he has one. And they own that job until the end. We do have managers that help, and we have a dispatcher. But our technicians are all 100% commission, different layers based on their levels of certifications, obviously masters and journeyman. There's tiers, but we start around 18 for a new hire, 18% of the top end revenue for a job produced by them.
So that's gross. That's not net.
That's gross. That's
okay.
Gross. And that includes They furnish their own tools, and we supply the equipment and the consumables. Okay, so they if they want a helper, they want 3 helpers. That comes out of their pay. So the larger the job, a lot of times they'll collaborate and pull 3 helpers from the other pool, almost like a bench. And they may pay them 7 or 8% a piece or something like that. All the way up to master restorers are making 25%. And that's usually a guy, and that's a lot. Everybody says, oh, you're paying way too much. I know what my GP is on every single job. We take out cost of goods. If we do anything outside of the norm that requires a purchase that's beyond what a general truck stock is, so let's say our crawl-space jobs, we take out the hard product like the vapor barrier, insulation, and et cetera, et cetera. Take the cost of goods off the top, and then they gross out from the remainder. So I have technicians that make from 50 to 110,000, 115,000 a year. I'm talking, but these guys are pulling out their own floors. They're cleaning up and going back in and talking to the customer. They're meeting the adjusters. They're doing their readings. And if we're doing our job right and using our proximity, they can run 2 jobs, depending on the size. They can run 2 or 3 jobs at a time. So,
can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
There's going to be some folks that say, "Man, that's just too much money."
It is.
That's
they
just
say
too
that
much money
all the time.
And my retort to that is, when you ever written a commission check to a salesman?
Lots of them.
Those are the easiest checks to write. You know why?
My favorite ones to write.
My favorite checks to write, because the money is in the bank. The job was sold. And Sir Richard Branson said it best when he said, "You don't put the customer first. Companies should not put their customers first. They should put their employees first. Because if you put your employees first exactly right, they will put the clients first. But you gotta have it right. You got it.
So here's the pyramid. Here's the org chart. My technicians, my lead technicians or journeyman technicians, my homeowners are their customers. My manager's customer is his techs, and my customer are my managers. So we're following we're following a military. If I give them what they need, and they're asking me for processes, they're asking me for better product, better trucks, whatever it is, whatever they're asking for to do a better job, if it makes sense, they're trying to. And I think Blaine's gonna like this. The only thing we're going after is an incredible experience for the customer, not an average call. Nothing. We're looking for them to say, why aren't all companies like this? And my techs they're asking for a review on day 1 and day 4. If you like what I did, it means a lot to me. Please leave a review. I don't mind paying.
We're talking
those
customer
guys.
Reviews. Customer reviews.
Customer reviews. We have the backs of our business cards is a QR code. Takes them right to it. Great. So people do tell me, says, "Oh, you're giving away the farm. You're making too much." Again, if I'm controlling my material costs, which is what, 5 to 7%. I mean, I don't know. Everybody's going to be a little different there, depending on what you're using. I know what my cost is on every job. And it also creates some other things. When those guys, I mean, nobody's watching the clock. They're getting up early. They're getting their truck ready because they know they're going to go straight to that job and make another call and make another call. They're writing the estimates. They're doing the follow-ups. They're literally self-employed in their own minds.
You said that they write the estimates, Clark.
They write their own. Yep.
I want to interject only because I myself have been on that exact pay structure as a tech before. And once you start factoring in, you minus out all the hard goods of poly, all that stuff, it doesn't make out to be as much as what it really does sound out to be. But, it's a perfect number, in my opinion. I agree with you that, to go with that.
Well, let's talk about what poly are you talking? Are you talking about from the vapor barrier?
For specialized containment stuff, specialized stuff.
I don't take that out. That comes truck stock. The only thing no chemicals and general restoration consumables are part of truck stock, and that's going in, and that's going to be about 7% of my job. And listen, what I have to do is I have to make sure, and Andy's going to love this, they're billing for that containment the right way so that I'm recouping that. So are they.
They have more vested interest.
When they got skin in the game, they have to. Yeah.
$1,000 an hour, baby. $1,000 an hour.
Yeah, I love that protect with plastic analogy. Watching you do that, Andy. That was good.
Hey guys, we keep up.
It freaking works.
hold on a second. We keep up, and anybody here is a baseball fan. I played baseball in college, and they keep up stats on everything. How many hits did this guy have when he had a migraine on a rainy day? My guys,
Yep.
I keep up with how many calls a week, what's his closing ratio, average cost per or average ticket. And what we do is we'll put two technicians side by side. I'll have a master restore, and he's run in a month of December or November, he's run 12 calls and he's closed 10, whatever it is. And his average ticket is $2,200. Then you've got Mr. Jeremy over here, and he's run the same number, and he's made half as much, and his average ticket is 16. And he's like, wait a minute, I'm not going, it's all random calls. I'm going to the same things. He's not charging for his poly. He's not charging for his trash haul off. He's not charging, maybe he had to extract twice. So
do you have a number comparing the two of those to those same two technicians with time on the job?
Yeah, we know their time on the job as well. So obviously a mold job and a water job might have different, but the estimate, the invoice should be commensurate to the labor involved to do that type of job.
Yeah. And I think that's time on the job, not master versus journeyman water restore, because frankly those things don't correlate really to field experience and whether or not you can estimate a job properly.
True.
No. No, but what I'm doing with the journeyman versus master, I'm giving the guys a path to increase, to improve, to move up, because none of in my process of paying everyone. And by the way, guys, I have about 45 guys. They're all paid this way, and all of them used to work with the green or the yellow or the red, and they all say, "I wish I had done this long ago."
Hold on a second. Who is listening without headphones in?
Okay.
I'm hearing you, Clark, through somebody else's microphone. That's all.
Okay.
Let's hold on. Let's just go ahead and I'm gonna mute. If you can reach up, y'all, if you will mute yourself until you have something to say, which you're more than welcome to unmute. Just all mute, so we try to kill any feedback here. That sounds better. I can already tell it sounds better. Whoever it was. We're good. All right, Clark, go ahead.
So it works for us. My technicians don't count the clock. They'll do their own mathematics. Hey, I was out here for 6 hours and I made this much money. So they're kind of gauging themselves. We do change it up a little bit for any kind of commercial or large loss. If I have to start using temporary labor and outside, external generators or desiccants, again, cost of goods start coming out. And I've got some negotiated rates with my techs that if I'm billing them as a project manager for 110 an hour, they're making 45 an hour. And I'm still, everybody's still happy. Everybody's fine for the experience. But I don't have anybody that ever comes to me and says, God, I just don't make enough money. And some do and say, hey, I've had a really bad week. But they come in, the second thing they say is, hey, boss, or to their manager, can you help me, man? I'm just striking out on all of my on my sales. I'm not connecting. So we coach on connecting and credibility statement, confidence, and we're coaching on objections and things like that. So, and we do a lot of self-pay. So some people are saying, hey, I walk into a job that's already sold. This day and age as an independent, when you've got to compete with the possible TPA sending their own vendor out, from the minute we get the phone call, our dispatcher is setting it up so that customer can tell their insurance company, no, we don't want anyone else because these guys are already blowing my mind. So all the way from the technicians. But what I've done is I've just removed a whole middle layer of the estimator who I worked in companies and I always thought the estimators, it was really hard for most companies to track what is that guy actually making for me in this company. Yes. I mean, there's always chasing that saying, is he really a great estimator? Or is he just doing something that a $13 an hour person could do in an admin role? So
with the right application.
And I'm not trying to put anybody down for that, but again, I know Jake I've talked to a lot. We don't use Xactimate. We use our own tablets with our own line item pricing, and we literally have a scope sheet. So what did we do in this room? This room we price it out, and then it all consolidates up.
I think that's awesome. but I feel like that's a lot of. I mean, I feel like you're blessed, man, with really good techs. Like someone who can project manage, do estimating, whatever software you use, doing the mitigation, everything. Andy's shaking his head no.
I don't necessarily agree, but go ahead.
I mean, it's just my opinion, man. I mean, send some of your texts to me because I'd love to have them. And then also now to talk to adjusters and stuff like that. It just seems like I mean, it's almost like they could go open up their own company. You know?
No, don't confuse that. Don't confuse. Yeah, that's talking to adjusters. That's something that. Guess what? Clark's guys don't do that.
You're wrong.
Yeah, and I know the direction we're going and stuff, but let's face it, man. Inevitably, we're going to talk to them. We need to know how to talk to them. I don't know. My opinion, I don't know how everyone else feels, but I feel like that's just a lot of skill to having on tech.
Well, I can see where it seems that way, Jake. Yeah. I can see, and I have a hard time hiring. I mean, we have a high threshold. We have background, drug screen, MVR. I get guys that are great techs that come from great pedigree, have all the paper in the world, but they can't pass the drug screen or they can't pass the driving record. And it's really frustrating because I know they would be good on our team. But Jake, I really do invite you to come up, or anyone to come up. I've got guys that I know. I've got a couple guys that didn't graduate high school, and what we found in interactions with adjusters is, again, they're justifying their own invoice because they're getting paid off of that. They know if there's a cut in that invoice,
it's coming right off their bottom line.
It's right off their bottom line. So they're not arguing. They all want to be rebels, and they're all rebels in their own way.
I was just talking about more kind of like when a tech is getting into the mode of project management and stuff, like maybe they were just doing water tech stuff for a while, and now they're having to deal with knowing about cabinets, knowing about hardwoods, just more in depth. Like they maybe tore it out so many times, things like that. But now they're actually getting into replacing it, project management, talking to subs, estimating the right way and stuff. It's like there's a time period that takes to learn stuff like that. You know what I mean? Which
right there is, and you're mixing repairs in a whole different realm in here, but and that takes that's a different skill set.
And that's a different team. So my repair guys will come in on.
You're just talking about mitigation.
Yes.
Just mitigation on the front. But my repair guys are paid the same way, Jake. My repair guys came in on day 2, day 3, whenever they get notified that we know what we've torn out. You now can come in here and look at what we do.
All right.
And
I thought you were saying the whole time, like your mitigation techs go there, tear it out, and then estimate and repair it all and handle all that. I was like, dude, send some of those to me.
No, that would be pretty special. But
I don't like to pimp my own stuff, but if you've read the 24-hour tech, you understand how simple this job can be.
And they all have
read it. You were going to bring that up, man. And
they all have.
Haven't read it yet.
It doesn't have to be as complicated as we want to make it. It is simple. There are 20 steps. You follow the 20 steps. And I was training 4 new guys every month because my boss would not pay more than $10 an hour for a tech, so they wouldn't last more than 3 weeks. Yep. It's not that hard of a job. But now, if I was able to compensate them the way for how much work they put in, oh man, they would have stuck around. These guys are rock star. Who else out there? I'm sorry, Clark. Did I interrupt you?
No, I just wanted to see. Who else out here?
Who else has a different compensation structure besides straight hourly for their technicians?
I've kind of a mix, man. I have a guy that makes $18 an hour, but he knows how to do everything like mitigation, go to emergencies by himself, project manage, talk to adjusters, everything. Do Xactimate, go make a scope up, bring it back, do Xactimate. And then he also makes 12% on his repairs. Nice. Of the gross.
Okay. Yeah, there's a book that I have had half written for the last 2 years called Mitigation Moneyball. And it's right to your baseball analogy, Clark, is we got to find what really is scoring here. And it's not what we think it is.
And I want everybody to keep talking, but I want to tell you the one thing that makes the big difference for us, and everyone short passes it. We train and train and train, and we specific train. We not only what we see them failing at, but things that we know everybody has. I mean, again, I don't have a bunch of Rhodes Scholars, and honestly, we train every week on a sales tactic or a protect it. We'll bring in an equipment manufacturer or something like that. So, I mean, we invest a lot of money into training, but we're still keeping out those guys that are making 70, 80,000 a year just to go estimate and shake hands and kiss babies. But again, it doesn't work for everyone. And I want to tell you one more thing, Jake. What we've found that the conversations with adjusters, they're disarmed because they know they're now talking to a technician and not to some smart split-tongue estimator who's going to beat them up over everything. That's the guy that's sitting there saying, this is not what I estimated. This is what I actually did. Here's the pictures of it. Here's my reading. So we found that adjusters really engage better with the tech than they do with any kind of – by the time I get involved, it's usually a fight. So
All right. Trey, do you raise your hand?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was going to say that I think that, obviously there's a many way to skin a cat, but I think, I always had, and I currently still am under a structure where I get a salary, and then I get a certain percentage for selling a job, and I get a certain percentage for managing a job. And that all depends on what we do in our production meeting on a week to week. If it's the type of job that I can handle, I might be able to sell a job that I cannot fully manage. And I might have other people on my team that have a skill set that can handle that job better than me. So I think a structure that's a little bit more flexible is you give a guy a base salary because he comes in with a certain base knowledge and he deserves to have a steady income. Then you have, like, let's say 2% or 3% for every job you sell, another 2% for every job you run in concession. So you get 5% for a job that you sell and you run on top of a base salary. That's just another way to skin the cat, but I feel like that kind of helps deal with employees that might have some skill sets that are all over the place. Sometimes people are decent techs and they're great salespeople and they're good on the phone. Kind of what Jake was saying, people can be all over the place. So you got to find a way to
trying to find the perfect, stuff for different people. Everybody's different, man. It's really hard to find good structures when you get new people and stuff like that. It makes you want to change all the time. You know what I mean?
I think no matter what it is, you need to come up with the thing that works for your business structure, and create the culture around that, and that is the expectation. You can't be changing. You absolutely cannot change. Oh, this person needs a different structure, or this person needs a different. No, this is, you got to come in these expectations. This is the compensation structure.
Yeah, you're right, man. I mean, we're still a pretty young business, man. I'm probably one of the youngest businesses here, but you're right, man. I need to get to the point where it's like that. It's just been a little all over the place growing,
One of my favorite folks in the world, Simon Sinek. He wrote a couple great books. One of them, Leaders Eat Last. And it speaks to the leadership role. And our role as leaders, as our leaders of our families, leaders of our companies, leaders of our industry, and yes, we are, we have to provide a sense of safety. Your employees, first and foremost, need to know that they're safe. And that's what I like about trade, that the salary, that provides that safety net. It's a base, and it's not gonna really buy them a Ferrari. That's why they got to go out and sell and do a better job and get a Ferrari. But they are safe. They know that if they get sick next week, their salary's still going to be there. And I think that's a very powerful motivation, because when people are not stressed out about their job, they're actually able to do their job better.
I agree.
Man, I'm going off tonight. All right, who else has something to say about compensation?
I just want to jump in saying I agree with the compensation / base salary, because that provides a security. I agree.
You need to know that they're going to be able to provide for their families, and then they can provide for you.
Yep.
Who said that?
Hey, Clark, I've got a question for you.
Oh, wait, Joe raised his hand. Hold on. We got a hand raised. Man, you guys are so freaking polite. I love it. Joe Ledbetter, what's up? Joe? And now he's all stalled out. You tease.
Who had a question for me?
John Stowe. John Stowe has a question.
So, guys, one of the things you talk about here is your compensation package.
There you go.
One of the things I find is helpful too is to obviously, the more you pay them on an hourly basis or a salary basis, your overhead obviously is automatically higher. But not only is compensation something to keep in mind and consider, but the value of the employee.
Okay.
Telling
explain that concept.
Well, I don't care what you're doing, who you are, what your profession is. If you
Who's
don't
wrapping presents in the background there, John?
Nobody's wrapping presents.
Somebody's wrapping presents somewhere around here. Who's not muted? I hear tape. All right.
Well, one of the things that I'm trying to get at, though, is that if we try to recognize our staff for accomplishments, bonuses doesn't necessarily have to be a cash thing. It could be just a recognition or a gift. A vacation package, or we give them 3 days, at a amusement park place or something like that, or
a
gift card. It's just the continual recognition and appreciation for what they bring to the company.
And how do you, I like where you're going. How do you present that gift? How is that done?
Well, it could be done privately, or it could be done in front of everybody else. Not to put somebody else down, but just to recognize someone's accomplishment when they've gone above and beyond their call of duty. They've stepped out beyond what they normally would do and went, another extra step or another mile type of thing.
Right, and that goes along the lines of, I'm a big fan of criticize privately, praise publicly, and
yes.
And it doesn't have to be you're exactly right. It doesn't have to be a big number, but if you hit your numbers this week, and your Friday morning meeting, you're handing them a crisp $5 bill, and then the next week you're handing out 2 crisp $5 bills or 20, so whatever right in the middle of the meeting, and you're reaffirming the culture of success. You're reaffirming to everyone there. There's no doubt these are the metrics that mean you are succeeding. And we're reinforcing that with a gift of some kind. Yeah, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, it's just a recognition and say, hey, I want these 2 guys or this crew. Let's say they did a really crappy job. Let's say it's a crawl space that's flooded with sewer water, and they sucked it out, got in there, and pumped it out, and just really kicked butt. I want to recognize their efforts because nobody wants to do that job.
No,
that's nobody wants. But if they go in and do it, then I want to appreciate them and recognize them, obviously pay them for it, but also publicly let them know my appreciation for that. And it could be like $100 bill.
Absolutely.
Cash. What I'm really getting at, though, is that you could have the best compensation package in the market world out there. But if they don't feel like they're adding value or that you value them as an employer, they're not going to be there very long. You're going to have retention problems. They're gonna go somewhere else because it's not always about the money.
No, it's not. It's rarely about the money.
Yeah, it's about
very rarely.
You're feeling like you're contributing, you're a part of the team, you're valued, you're appreciated, all of that stuff.
People want to understand that they matter, that there's a reason they showed up to work, and they were seen. And if we can just show our people that we see them, they're going to run through walls for us. Just run through walls. All right, a couple more. Joe, are you back with us, Mr. Ledbetter?
Hey, let me unmute there. Yep.
Yeah, man. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to.
Yes, you did. I'm sure you did, but then you went out.
I miss your business model. Please correct.
No, almost, maybe. All right. Hold on, Joe. We'll come back. Who want to interject something there?
Models. Can you guys hear me?
No.
Now we can, but Clark has something to say now.
Sorry. Well, if we can hear Joe, let's let him go ahead.
All right, go ahead, Joe.
I'll be brief. First, I just want to say, Clark, if I mistake your business model, please just correct me. But one of the interesting things that I see with that is your direct-to-consumer relation is outstanding. And that means that in the world of Restoration 2.0, I believe, off topic, on topic, that our industry is moving to that we're going that way. So the compensation that we traditionally would have in restoration is salary, percentages of profits, bonuses. I truly think that we as an industry have to rethink and revamp that along with our practices. And I think Clark is executing something on a level that is obtainable, first and foremost, But second is very intriguing because it is a better pay scale for these people doing a better job. And I think we can all take a page out of Clark's book to that respect. Now, I did want to mention about like a bonus structure type thing. One thing I found personally is I never set a determined percentage of a bonus or anything of that nature. I would get to know each and every single employee and find out what their need is. So I got an admin who's a single mother with 2 kids working a second job. And so you know what I'm doing for her when she does something great? I'm going to the grocery store. I'm getting a $100 grocery card, and I'm going to give it to her because that's what she wants. That's what she needs. It's not about the money. It's about the relationship. No different than that with our clients. And I would do it randomly. You know, I had an employee who was having car troubles. I went to AutoZone, got him a $300 gift card, said, here, man, take care of your stuff. He did an awesome job, worked through the weekend on a project. And that employee would run through a wall that was on fire for me, for the company, period. And I found that building that relationship with the employee, whether you have 5 or 55, take the time, get to know it, and sanitize from that. But Clark,
they knew
great model.
You were there for them. They knew you were there to take care of them. Leaders Last. If you hadn't read that book,
I agree 100%.
Pick it up. Mr. McKinstry, of course you
Andy,
do.
I want one more thing, Andy. I sent you something in our messenger. Can you pull it up on the screen?
There's a
who was talking?
Here we go.
Who was talking a while ago about
back
incentives?
to this view. All right.
Who was talking about incentives a while ago?
You want me to show the Wheel of Fortune thing here?
Yes, I want to show you the Wheel of Fortune, and I don't know if everybody's going to be able to see it. So
it was Michael.
We have KPIs that we've got guys that are beyond just financial goals, and that's from so this is one of our conventions, and we made this wheel, and we can change out all these placards. We have 6 or 8 different levels of these placards. So every week in our staff meetings, everyone's, I told you we measure everything probably to the 10th degree. Guys that had the most reviews, had the fewest complaints, et cetera. I mean, we've got a whole list of things, and they get to spin this wheel for money. And it's not always money. Sometimes it's days off. We've got tickets to sporting events in there. Our guys buy their own tools. So I've got a DeWalt drill that I'll throw up there or something like that. So you're right. But what we have, and I think you're saying it's beyond money, is we have something called Helping Hands. And again, I don't want this to be about our company, so you can take that off the screen. I want to tell you, our techs will find customers. And yes, we are more customer-centric than a lot of people. But they find customers that need something. And maybe I think this was in the post this week that something wasn't covered. Our techs would say, you know what, I'm okay taking a hit on my invoice for that $600 for whatever that was for those cabinets. And then those guys go up on our social media, and they're all blown up on the big screen in the corporate office. And the guys always come back and say, you know what, you didn't have to recognize us for doing that because we would have done it anyway when the cameras are off. But now they feel special because they've been shown doing. We've got guys, but I don't want to go on and on, but I've got 2 guys that go out when they're doing a fire job and the customers had to move out of their house. They mow the yard in the summer because we put yard signs, kind of like real estate signs while we're working, and they don't want the yard to look like Michael and Son, my company's out there in this shoddy looking home. So they come and mow the yard. So we incentivize them. But lastly, what I'll say is my techs can never be managers because none of them want to take the cut and pay. I promise you, when I'm looking to recruit a manager, I always ask my techs who wants to be a manager. And they're like, there's no way I'll take a cut and pay. I'm making $92,000 this year. So
we're still on there.
So that's it. I'm done.
All right. So Jim Kittredge, you got your hand raised for a while here. Where are you at? I'm trying to find you on my screen.
I'm over here, man. How's it going, guys?
Good. I'm finding you. I'm looking. There you are.
Can you guys hear me?
In the dark. Mystery man. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I just want to talk on the lines of the compensation. What are you guys doing, or what have you seen success in making sure that technicians are fulfilled at work and fulfilled with their career? I know, Clark, I like what you're doing a lot with Helping Hands because that gives them almost like a higher purpose rather than just clocking in, clocking out. I'm curious to hear everyone else, what have you guys seen or been able to do that helps make them more fulfilled in their job and in life? I'm just curious to hear everyone's thoughts on that.
I've got a couple thoughts, but I'll let somebody else chime in.
Just talk to them, first of all, man. That's the best thing to start out with. I mean, the conversation never hurts. I mean, sometimes a guy will tell me, man, I really feel like tearing shit out, you know, or like, I really want to learn more about Xactimate. Just talk and listen, man, see how things are going. Doesn't exactly have to be some system to have to find it out, you know what I mean? That's just the first way to go about it. I feel like just communication.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to is finding out what makes your guys tick. And it's going to be different for every single guy. I like setting goals. I like setting metrics to define every week when you have your weekly meeting, or maybe you have a daily meeting. These are the metrics that we're shooting for. And I would invite you to instill or create a metric that ties directly into customer feedback, because those are the folks that the clients are the ones that are going to give you the most honest answer to whether or not they're doing a good job or not. Your technicians are in their house. Your client is your best person to say, this person did great. So, but yeah, everyone is not motivated by money. Maybe they're motivated by time off. Maybe they're motivated by just being the best at what they do. Well, if they're motivated by being the best at what they do, you need to define what that looks like and then measure it. Because if you don't measure it, it doesn't happen. If you don't measure it, you can't improve it. So set the metrics and you know, maybe one callback a week or less is one metric, or 2 reviews online from a happy customer. That's another metric. There's a lot of different ways to measure it, and it's different for every company.
Yeah, I guess I may have not communicated that well, but I guess I'm wanted to get feedback on is not how well the technicians are doing, like at a job standpoint. What I mean is, like, does anyone measure their employee satisfaction and their happiness in the role they're in? And then what are you guys doing to help improve that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect. Ryan, you got something to say?
Yeah. I step foot on almost every single job, and I have been encountering quite a few customers that has said that technicians set appointments for moisture content checks, etc., and do not follow through with those appointments. How are we going to implement a pay scale and try to be there for these guys if they do not do their job properly? How do we kind of get over that hurdle if they do not follow through with what they're supposed to do, especially with, you know, setting appointments and not showing up?
Oof, that's a tough one.
Who is that asking that? Who is that?
That's Ryan McIntosh.
Hey, Ryan, what do you use for moisture mapping? Are you paper and spreadsheet, or are you using an application, or what?
We use DryBook Mobile.
Isn't there accountability set up inside of DryBook saying that they timestamped, went out and checked them readings, or are you? Where they're faking it?
Well, they set the appointment and they put it into the diary notes, etc., but they just do not follow through with that. You know, whether it be a Saturday or a Sunday, what have you. You know, my theory is if you start a job on Friday, you check that job all the way through the weekend. It doesn't matter.
There's nothing wrong with discussing like a penalty phase to this commission-based structure either. You know, if they're repeatedly getting customer complaints and repeatedly getting missed appointments, then why not have some sort of penalty structure involved?
No. They don't work here if they're getting complaints because they're not part of it.
They're
not working.
And I mean,
that's what I'm. The incentive is you keep your job, and I give you an opportunity to make more. You keep rising in your percentage or whatever. I really don't. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm going to be black and white today, but that's your incentive. Is if you're not doing your job, I get 20 applications a month, and maybe one of them wants to do it for you.
I've never fired anyone too soon. Trey, you got something to add?
Yeah. I think this goes across pretty much.
Whitney, I see you, Whitney. I see you now. I'll get back to you. Sorry. Go ahead, Trey.
But I really think that performance action plans are the way to go when you have employees who are not meeting expectations. If you create a performance action plan that clearly delineates exactly what they need to be doing to improve them, and you give them timelines on that performance action plan, will have 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months, and it'll give them a chance to redeem themselves. And if you give a person a chance to redeem themselves, you might end up with a really, really solid employee. So you got to give a person a chance. So these performance action plans are a way to, because half the time it's management's the problem. We're not coaching appropriately. We're not managing appropriately.
We're not educating.
Got a guy who's not performing. You create a performance action plan. You tell them exactly what they need to do. You spell it out. You have a meeting with them. You meet with them every week, and you touch base on that action plan. And then you might end up with the best employee on your entire roster, and at the end of 6 months.
Or
what kind of tangible things do you have on the action plan, like measurable criteria?
I think it would be individual to individual. If you got a guy who's not following through with his paperwork, then you need to have a specific item on that performance action plan that says, follows through with every single, whatever it is that they're faulting on doing. You need to specifically line on that with clear directives on how they can change their behavior.
And then ask yourself the honest question: is the paperwork the problem? I've seen 5 pages of tick sheets with 500 items on them. How do you expect anyone to fill something like that out in the middle of the night, sucking sewer out of a basement? So take a hard look at the system.
True.
If our paperwork's a problem, it's yours, Andy.
Oh. So you have no problem with your paperwork. I get it. There's no problem there. Oh, man. All right, Whitney.
Real quick, man. To touch on, I don't even know who it was that was saying it at this point in time, but I think he was talking about the morale of employees while they're on the job site at the office while they're working, and not so much about what they're doing with work, but more so what they're doing, how happy they are based on the surroundings, based on their fellow employees, based on a lot of the different things that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
Satisfaction. Yeah.
And I think and I think that was what he was touching on. Just so I kind of to follow back onto his question that he asked, I think what's very important is obviously when you're doing your meetings with your employees and trying to figure out if they're best for you, it's really important to let them know that you're also here to let them, open up, talk to you about what's going on in their life, things like that. I mean, I had a couple good things that people mentioned that they'd listen to. Obviously, if their cars are broken down, they try to help them out in situations like that. We try to always this fact that it's the biggest thing about a team is that you guys have to be accountable for each other. So just don't hide other people's things, stuff like that. We make it an open door policy where our guys and girls that work at our office can kind of come in and tell us what they have going on or what's going on around them and whatnot. We don't necessarily rat them out, and we make sure that everybody feels comfortable working in an environment. We'll get rid of people if they necessarily might not be doing a bad job, but if they're affecting the morale of people in the company, it's just as important as so many other objects.
You're exactly right. Let's not forget everything good that happens at all of our companies. If we're in the restoration world, everything good that happens at our companies start with the raw water damage technician. So if we keep that in mind with everything that we do, this person has the most touch with our clients. This person has the most influence on the outcome of the project because they're there at the start. They point the ship where it's headed. If we just keep in mind these are the most important people in our entire organization, and the rest of us are just here to support those people, that's the right mindset. That's the mindset we need to be in. Anyone else have anything to say on that subject? No. Okay, Danny Strong, you still in the room? Yeah, he's got to be unmuted. You want to? Let's talk about what happened. We're going to switch gears a little bit, and this has to do with what we're doing as a group. And I've done a fair amount of public shaming of public companies, and I will continue to do that because I believe it's a very effective way to influence public opinion. But what happened this week, Danny, that maybe something went over the line?
So I posted a email for last week, from insurance company, and the vendor manager saw it on the on the Rebel Facebook group, and
Because there are a lot of people watching. Yes.
oh yeah, I kind of got a phone call blasting me, and I mean, he was true to the point that I mistakenly prematurely put it up there without blocking the customer's information and where it came from. So I apologize for that, and as a result, I removed the post. But I told him that under no certain terms had anything to do with the post itself. He said something about me being aggressive as a company and my company being in aggressive tactics. And I very clearly told him that if it's considered aggressive tactics, by making sure that the customer gets what they're entitled to and a quality product that I can stand behind, then yes, I'm aggressive.
Absolutely.
But other than that, I'm not going to bow down for basically lack of coverage or what you say is a lack of coverage or something that's not covered in your policy. So,
yes. That particular company is I have a whole collection. I've got a file started of things that particular company has said to me in writing that I will use against them later on, because that is some of the stuff they say. The reasoning they try to use is just horseshit. But we cannot put private information out there publicly. That's what it came down to, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So by all means, if anybody sees my posts and they have some private information, I think I learned my lesson, but hopefully I won't do that again.
Yeah. The big companies that we are fighting to change or fighting against, they've got, we can do this. I mean, because they're out there, they're already public, but their clients, claim numbers, addresses, names, we can't be doing that. We can't be putting stuff like that out there. Is that it, Danny? Is that cool?
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate you being willing to say that out loud, because I know a lot of us are not willing to step up and say we're wrong when we are. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, I was definitely wrong about that situation. But as far as calling me aggressive, yeah,
aggressive.
That,
oh, don't get me started.
I'm quite passionate about our customers and making sure that they get a quality product.
Man,
but that's about it.
Not seen aggressive. Oh man.
Claim number, all he forgot to black it out.
So what we will do, in any information that I put out there, I will make a double effort that there's no there's no claimant information in there, because that's not the point. Those people are really, they pay for this whole thing, and the last thing we need to do is embarrass any client or insured. And along those lines, we're not really out here to embarrass anyone. But we, in the nature of full transparency, we are just going to show what we see. We're going to show it how it is. If show me the exclusion. Hey, I'm being transparent with you with what I charged. You tell me why. You be transparent with me why I can't charge what I charged. It's very, very simple, and this the shame. Yeah. Anyway, I could go on. Value. I want to talk about value proposition. We talk about how valuable technicians are to us in our businesses. How much value we put into them translates directly to how much value they provide back to us and how much value they give to the end user. Where the TPAs have succeeded is they have shown their value to the carriers, right? They show through their metrics that they save them 20% or 30%, or they show that customer satisfaction is on upward curve because they have these surveys and all these things and 5 stars and 4 stars. Well, the data is wrong because it's skewed, because the TPAs have to justify their existence. Let me ask all y'all a question, and all y'all that are going to watch this tomorrow and the next day. What if a contractor group started to collect their own data on the value and customer satisfaction surveys and provided their own data on how much value they're providing for the carriers and how much customer and policyholder retention they're providing and ensuring for the carriers, and delivering that data directly to the carriers instead of through a TPA? Who would have the power in that situation then? right? That is where I'm going. That is where we are going. We don't need a TPA to tell us how good a job we're doing. We just need to measure it ourselves and then keep the data for ourselves and to deliver the data on our terms. So what we're talking about here is eliminating the middleman and ultimately delivering a higher value to the carriers than they're currently getting. So that's what this whole game is about, is value, and it's perception. You know, the TPAs are saying, well, we provided you 30% savings last year. That's the value proposition. But in reality, the value proposition is broken. We provide the value. We deliver the value anyway. So we're going to start tracking the value. We're going to start tracking our own data, and we're not going to share that data with anyone except for the carrier. And that's where things get really exciting, really super exciting, because we control our own destiny at that point. And then the value proposition that's been shown just falls apart. The TPA value proposition is already broken. I know that. But the carriers don't know that because they're stuck in an old mindset and they're being fed data that has been molded and changed and is incorrect. So, of course, they're making decisions to go with the TPA because the data says that's a good decision. So we're going to help them make a managerial decision to go provide more value and higher policyholder retention because we're the service providers anyway. Who is in the best position to provide value and service the client? The contractor is. So let's do it. Let's do it.
Hey, Andrew.
Yes, sir.
On that idea, is there anything that us as restoration contractors can start doing immediately to demonstrate the value we're providing on like a per project basis? I know like customer satisfaction is an easy one. I can do that. I can show them their reviews, their feedback. We can give them like transparency into the process and the progress. Is there anything else that you think we can provide at a smaller scale, then collectively be able to have a bigger impact on them?
Go deeper. Customer satisfaction survey, great. Have you talked to the agent? Have they expressed to their agent? How
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Let the agent be the voice because they've got a direct link to the carrier.
Because guess what? If you show the policyholder is thrilled with you and the policy, here's what it comes down to. People want to know that they made the right decision. They made the right decision when they paid their premiums last month. They made the right decision when they went to this agent to buy their policy. And they made the right decision when they chose you as their contractor. We're just reinforcing that they made the right decision. So yeah, go to the carrier or go to the agent. Find out who their agent is. Invite the agent into the process. Invite them in because we are in the best position to give that agent data about their policyholder. And then if we get feedback from the client, obviously, we get feedback from the carrier from the agent. It's like, oh man, these guys they were on the ball. You think that agent's going to turn into a referral source?
Yeah.
So frickin' lootly.
Yeah. I like that idea of getting
agency marketing's not dead. We've just been doing it wrong for a number of years. Yeah. Jerry Edel, he's not on the call tonight. Oh man, I had lunch with him last week. That guy has got it. He's got an agency marketing mindset that will blow your minds.
Yeah, he does, man.
We'll try to get him into. That's exactly right. Who posted that? People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So let's make our client feel good. Let's make the agent feel good. Let's just show it. And that's how we provide the value. And then, how can a TPA even keep up with that?
When I worked in the healthcare industry, what we used to call this was called outcomes-based marketing, where all of your target actions when it comes to marketing, when it comes to production, when it comes to the actual performance of your job is all about outcomes. And all you're doing is essentially you whittle everything down to tracking what the outcome is of everything you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So, when we start whittling down these referral sources and what they're worth and what we're worth to them even more so, it really comes down to what the outcome of our ultimate mission of our job is. Yep. What are we producing and what is our impact?
What is our impact? And at the end of the day, Clark, do you have something to say? Your hand is still raised. Your virtual hand.
It's been up for a while, but we've been on for an hour. I really just wanted to spend, and we lost David Sweet, but I wanted to spend 5 or 7 minutes on RTPE, even if it's only brief. So I don't know if you've got a little minute or if we're just going to push that until the next week. It's 9:40. I'm okay for a few minutes, but it came up, and I wanted people to understand what that was. And I think Blaine, are there any RTPEs left in here? Because David left. Is
David
anybody
left.
here?
Is Blaine around?
Blaine?
No.
Are you Whitney? You're not RTPE, are you?
I'm
are
here.
you registered?
No,
There's
I haven't
Blaine.
registered or anything.
There's Blaine.
Okay, Blaine, do you feel comfortable kind of giving us a quick, 90-second talk about RTPE and what that started as and what it is now?
Well, admittingly, I don't know a lot about what they're doing, and my internet connection is horrible here. Can you even hear me?
Yeah, you're in and out, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot to these guys, and I really like the third party aspect of it. We all know Ken, and Ken doesn't mess around.
No, not very
he
much.
can justify the work if it's going to take 17 days to dry, and he's going to do what he needs to do for 17 days, and tweets the same way. Shit, David produced a drying document 400 freaking pages thick at the summit. So there's definite value there. I haven't quite figured out how that works into my daily routine, or anybody's, but I think it's a higher level of accountability in a way. And for me, so far, of what I know, I think it's positive.
Yeah, the RTPE, registered third-party evaluator.
Yeah.
And
may I voice a concern? Sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
Out there.
Yeah, man.
I definitely see tons of benefits as I did, as there were with a lot of good things in our industry. But one concern I personally have with it is that individuals, specifically like Clark, like myself, like a lot of other guys who have physically earned their stripes in the field and who obviously have qualifications to go along with it, but more so, in fact, learn what they learn doing it hands-on. I just really hope that this doesn't take away from that or take any credibility away from, or essentially make it so that these people aren't necessarily considered as much of an expert because they don't have said designation or aren't necessarily, right now the program getting in or out is not necessarily anything but a knighting of a sword on a shoulder, if you will. That's my concern.
Here, let me answer to that, Whitney. And I know what you're getting at, and I think you're right. But here's RTPE as a group, and if everyone in the group, it's not so different than an IEP or an IH. When we would hire an IH to come out, they go a little further than an IH. Registered third-party evaluator means they're not going just for microbial. They're actually validating. And as I understand it, there's only 11 or 12 people that are now certified in this country as RTPE.
So far.
David Sweet is one. Obviously, Ken Larson, a good friend of mine.
Actually, 25.
25 now? Well,
yeah.
Well, they got wet and they multiplied. So Ed Fogel is a friend of mine up in Maryland. I don't know if anybody knows Edward Fogel. He's great. And obviously a lot goes into it. I agree with what Whitney's saying is and Whitney and Jake probably in some cases know more about certain things than a lot of RTPEs, but they are a third party that can come in as they're not on my side, they're not on the carrier side, they're on the end user, whether that's commercial or residential. They sometimes will set scope, set precedent. Like if we're saying, hey, we know what we would do, but we don't want to be in court in 7 months. So what would you here's Michelle has just posted some information there. I think we'll put that on the page when we're done. But it's saying an RTPE is coming out and saying, I'm going to hold everybody accountable. But I think if we know what they're measuring off of, if we as contractors, we will be better restorers. If we know that they're saying we're going to judge you on these 13 points or these 25 points, then we're going to study for that test and we're going to ace it. Do you agree with that, Whitney?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. Super important. I guess I just haven't had enough clarification. I've tried having some conversations with individuals and not necessarily kind of gotten, I guess, any response. But to say the least, there's not much information available online. There's not much that you can get unless you're truly in the heads of some of these individuals that are behind the thinking of it.
It's brand new.
Yeah, I mean, I've done some stuff for expert witness cases, or expert witness services, if you will. I've done third-party evaluations. I've done some different consulting on different levels. With that being said, I just hope that by me not being a registered third-party evaluator, I hope that my credibility is not now then, taken away.
Sure.
Obviously.
No, and it's I don't think it's about any contractor's credibility. It's about incentive and motivation, and doing an after the fact regurgitation or an autopsy of a claim is not what the RTP is about. The RTP is about setting a standard at the front end of a claim before things get sideways, and having a third party who is not motivated by money, not motivated to get as much drying as possible, or on the other side, to reduce the drying time as much as possible. Someone who really speaks to the structure and what does this structure need. And what right now there's an entire industry called construction consultants. Who do they work for? They work for the carriers, right? We all know who they are. We all know they come in and their job is to cut severity. We know that. But who do we have on the other side of the coin? Who is somebody that contractors can call and say, you know what, I know what my opinion of this job is, but don't take my word for it. Let's get one of these guys to tell us all what this structure needs to dry. And that gives complete like, okay, well, I'm just following what the RTPE said. I'm not doing what I want to do because I want to make more money on this job, because I want to put another 5,000 CFM desiccant on here because it's more money. I am following the guidelines of an RTPE who doesn't have a money incentive on this claim. And they speak to the science and the structure, because the structure can't speak for itself. And so too often we get a contractor versus a construction consultant going, no, this is the way it should be done. This is the way it should have been done. And what an RTPE does is just eliminates that argument altogether and creates that solid standard.
Are they supporting the contractor? Are they supporting the restoration contractor? Or are they supporting whoever it is that hires them?
They're supporting the
customer. Like
customer.
Right, the end user, ultimately, the owner of the structure.
The same person that we're supporting.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Can I throw something in there?
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah, who that? Danny? Oh, Danny. What's up, Danny?
Okay, so I've had a couple of long conversations with David about the process, and if he comes in, he's hired by the insured, and he is paid by the insured. But he's there to back up what you do, possibly be an accountability partner for you. David would come in and do some testing up front and set the baseline on any of the issues that could be going on, whether it's microbial or otherwise, asbestos, lead, any of those things, and bring that to the attention, and also address any air scrubbers, containment, any of that stuff. And he brings it in as a third party. So you're not just the restorer saying, hey, I need to bring in air scrubbers for this, that, and the other. He's that expert, kind of like your IH or your IEP, coming in and validating those things. He also sets up those the monitoring stuff and monitors it 24/7 and provides that documentation to the client and to me for my benefit. Again,
right.
It's
you don't hire him, right?
No.
So I mean, you don't have an influence on him, and neither
I
does
don't.
the carrier.
I do refer him though. I would, as I get a client. This is a person that
Of course you would.
bring in as a referral.
Yeah.
Okay, so the contractor would refer them if they're getting kickback or flack from somebody else. It's just not understanding what you're wanting to accomplish.
For me, I'm looking at I probably am going to push it on every single job, and if the client is game to let them come in, then by all means I want him there. Just again for the accountability of it, make sure two sets of eyes are always better than one.
Hey Danny, here's an idea, and this is something I have not put into play. And
Trey's got his hand raised, though, by the way.
Okay, I'm just gonna be quick. What about in your initial authorization? You have a multiple choice to a customer. Do you want option A, option B, option C? And they are, I come in and I treat this according to my best practices and experience that I have. Number two, you're going to hire an IEP, an IH, or maybe an RTPE, and I'll work in concert with them. Or you're going to just test at the end. So, I mean, you kind of need to know that I'm going to run this job as if I need to pass a clearance test, that's a whole different thing than I'm just going to clean a localized area. I've got to clean the entire area. But I don't know if that makes sense. But here's the way I talk to one RTPE. And anyone here that's ever had OSHA come onto a job site, there's a real big pucker factor that happens. But the truth of it is they're not there immediately to cut you up. They come first in education mode before enforcement. They will come on and they say, we really only want to protect the worker, and then that's it. And they'll say, I see a few things here, unless it's blatant. You got guys up on the roof and hanging off of a ladder or whatever. But they come in and they say, we're not here to bust you in pieces or kick in your teeth. We're here to kind of tell you what we're seeing from the outside because you're too close to it maybe. And I think an RTPE in a way, like, listen, I'm going to do an ATP test or I'm going to do a swab, and this is what it is in a clean part of this building. This is what this is what you're going for. So it's kind of giving you something. That way, if you are measured later by a third party that's not there, you're not caught off guard. But
yeah, why'd you put that equipment in there? Well, the RTPE prescribed it. Why'd you take those tests? The RTPE prescribed it. It wasn't me. It wasn't me trying to make another $45 for another test. It was.
And as far as I know, most of these guys at RTPEs are they're very familiar with the OSHA standards as well. I mean, David brings up the whole silica issue on these jobs and when you're doing demo. So yeah, I mean that's
silica is huge. Yeah. People definitely need to get educated on what's going on with silica.
All right, Trey, what's up, buddy?
No, I mean, I kind of sidetracked in my thought. I mean, are you proposing we have protocols written for every loss? I mean,
not every loss.
You can take that as far as you want. I mean, it sounds very similar to a certified indoor environmentalist, a CIE or a CRIE, a certified residential indoor environmentalist. It just sounds like another acronym for something that already exists already.
Yeah, well, would an IH or a CIE really know anything about drying a structure?
Some do, some don't.
I mean, all the CIEs in my area, the companies that we use, they're all mastered out water restorers. I mean, they've already been through that asbestos, lead, mold, at least in my area.
Okay.
I mean, you've cleared a lot of things up to my concerns personally, as far as that goes.
Here's what I think, and I would love. We lost the one guy in the crew that would have told us more about this. I think there's some pieces to this puzzle that probably David or Ken or someone could have answered. But I agree. I'm with Whitney. I don't like to be judged or third party. But again, if you don't look at it like that you're looking at someone that shares the customer with the same desire of results as that what I'm going for, and that might actually add validation to why I did what I did. One more person on my team, I could always use that. So, but I would like to know more.
Good. Yeah, I'm definitely interested to know a lot more about this.
Yeah, and let's not beleaguer the point much longer. It needs to be. Nathan, you got something to say?
Yeah, I mean, I'm jumping in on a topic that honestly, it's the first time I'm ever hearing of this, but it sounds like somebody who you bring in onto the job to monitor what you're doing or whatever it might be. Why do I need someone like that? What's the purpose behind it?
To eliminate the accusation that you're just doing what you're doing to make money.
you could apply
Yeah.
that across the board to every job I do. Then I'm saying along the logic.
Well, how many jobs do you have? Let's say a young and associates coming in and saying, "Well, you shouldn't have done that." Yeah, I mean, or
That's
you
just their opinion. I'm the licensed contractor on the job. I do
right. It comes down to how hard you want to fight, or just say, you know what, I'm done fighting. Here's somebody who can give you the technical official opinion of what should have happened. Let's let them decide.
Do you want an extra expert in your corner or not? I mean, really, that's what it boils down to. He's really there to be a huge benefit to you. That's his purpose.
Yeah.
But it's up to you whether you want to use it or not.
The insured.
The insured. So he's
the insured would be like, why am I hiring you? You're the professional. Why am I hiring you if you need to bring in somebody else to tell me that what you're doing is the right way to do it? I mean, do doctors have these kind of people standing behind them? Does anybody? I mean,
exactly. You don't go to the dentist and ask like, I need a third party to tell me that you're taking my tooth out correctly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm buying into this.
But sometimes you do need a third opinion, right?
Yes. Yeah, for like very extreme situations, I'd agree. But for like a normal water job,
it just seems like another layer to me. That's
Hey guys, I want to say something. I don't want to get too granular. This was brought up in the group. People were asking what this was. I don't think anybody. I've done thousands of jobs without having one. I don't think they're required, but I think some people might feel comfortable giving their customer an option. But I don't think it's required. I mean, you're doing it without it right now. I don't think
it's an every job thing. No,
I mean, if you have a customer who's batshit crazy, then maybe what I mean.
Exactly. Well, you know what? If they're batshit crazy, you just don't do the job.
Yeah, you refer them out to a competitor.
You find out they're batshit crazy when you're like 60% the way through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They never let you know up front.
Let them use the TPA if they're crazy.
Give them contract protection.
All right. Hey, you guys, awesome call. And gals, appreciate you guys being here. Bob and Christine, really good to see you. Yeah, John, what's up?
I was going to tell you guys, I am not a RTP certified person, but I do expert witnessing. I also do reviews of other restoration contractors. What I find when I get called out on is usually the large losses that are complex. It's not usually the small residential dryouts that are just 1 or 2 DUs.
Yeah.
The complexity of the restoration process, that there's a lot of unknowns that need to be answered that nobody really knows how to put all the dots together or put all the pieces of the puzzle together.
Right.
And so that's where when I find myself being called out to consult on. I'm doing one right now in Hurricane Harvey. I'm in Corpus Christi right now. I'm actually online down here, but we're on a project right now. That consulting group you mentioned is actually one of the construction consultants on the project.
Yep.
And I helped establish on this particular project what the goals were for the restoration project itself. I'm not being paid to inflate the claim or deflate the claim
by
either party. I'm really more here to protect the insured, to make sure that their property is properly restored, because there's a lot of lack of education from the industry that we are a part of and the general public. And even the insurance company. Some of them are more savvy to information because of experience, and some of them are not.
Yeah. And when you're talking about expert witness and reviewing invoices and things like that, that's all after the fact stuff, right?
What I'm doing right now is I'm establishing protocol.
Good. Beforehand. And that's very much what the RTPE program is about. Go ahead, Clark.
John, what's the value of your claim, if you can say in general terms, or of the loss?
It's about this particular one's $18 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I wanted to say to Nathan and Jim is that's a lot more money on the line for a contractor to say, hey, I can wait 6 months or a year for, than an $8,000, $12,000 claim. So it's really it's a scale thing. I've been on those. I was on a $64 million loss, and we had a consultant, and I was glad.
Yes.
I mean, literally.
Because I don't want my ass on the line on a $40 million check.
So
somebody else can make that call.
It is not the small job.
Trey does not.
No problem.
It is not the small one. So I know what you're saying, Nathan and Jim, but I think their existence exists somewhere. And just I wanted to talk about it on the call because you might just come across something in 6 weeks. You may get a call for a $182,000 mold job that's real complex. And you just might need a little backup. I just wanted to bring it up from an educational purpose today.
Yeah, it's all about backup.
I think David needs to just get on here and talk a little bit more to us about it, because I did talk to him for about an hour and a half today, and his explanation is way different. I asked him about that too. At what point do we call someone like that in on a $2,500 job? His explanation was,
no,
we don't have $2,500 jobs. He's like, your $2,500 or $3,500 job with me involved is going to be 10 or 12.
Yeah.
So his explanation is that if you're doing things 100% correct and following all the OSHA rules and everything else, that your job's going to be way bigger, and that's why he needs to be involved. So I think
I think that strays from the RTPE and goes into more of a philosophy of Mr. Sweet, which I don't disagree with necessarily. I don't think that's the intent of the RTPE to do. But yeah, it's going to come up, and I think it's about time we had somebody. We actually had an arrow in our quiver to pull out, because up until this point, who would we call for something like that? Unless we knew somebody like Jon Snow or Snow. I just called you Jon Snow. You got a sword back there?
Winter is coming.
Winter has come. Jon Stowe. if we know a Jon Stowe, yeah, we're going to call him because he's exhibited his ability as that kind of expert. But there's
Andy, one of the things I'm trying to do though when we do this is I'm not trying to make the decision based on my knowledge. We're pulling together, manufacturer instructions. We're pulling together regulations. We're pulling together guidelines. Everything that we can put together and say, okay, the book says you have to do it this way. And when you deviate from that, that's risk management.
Yes.
You guys have to pick and choose what you're willing to take the liability of. I'm making the recommendation. The EPA says this. OSHA says this.
Yep.
Your local and federal, state level says this. This is what you have to do. This is your International Building Code. These are the things you have to consider when you're making these repairs and how you have to handle this particular project.
And it takes all the wiggle factor out of it. It takes the wag out of it. It takes the he said, she said out of it, because no one's going to argue with that kind of data. No one's going to argue with that kind of expert level stuff. But
if they're going to try to, they're going to have to rewrite the standard. You can't. I have to tell Justin, I said, if you have the jurisdiction to oversee or supersede OSHA or the federal government regulations for asbestos or lead-based paint, then please, by all means, show me that potential.
We have the power to do that already. I'm a lead inspector. I'm an asbestos inspector. We already have the power to do this individually. Yes, it does incorporate another level of expertise and another level of backing for what we're doing, but we each individually have the power to either gain the certifications and the knowledge or already possess it currently to back these types of jobs.
Yeah, I don't think that's
correct. But one of the things you got to keep in mind
about knowledge. I don't think it's about knowledge or expertise. It's about true third party arm's length
validation
stuff. Arm's length relationships. I can tell an adjuster, I got to have ice and water shield on this roof. I know it. I've seen the code. I'll show you the code. The adjuster's like, no, I don't. It's not in my book. Well, guess what happens if the city inspector comes by and writes me a nasty gram and says you need ice and water shield? Who's going to have more weight? My word, quoting the International Building Code, or this nasty gram from the city inspector? The city inspector, he's a third party. He's not making money on this claim. He's got more credibility. That's what it's about.
How do you deal with that now? I just call the city inspector, tell him, throw it on some letterhead for me. Thank you. I'll bring you some cupcakes next month.
Exactly right. Because they like cupcakes. They know the games. It's not the first letter they're going to write, and it's not going to be the last. But we've got to be able to fight. We've got to be able to fight these things with different tools. And sometimes the old tools will work. Sometimes we need new tools.
I know we're running out of time here, guys, but I think it would be helpful to have or get a better understanding on what the difference is between the roles of an IEP, a public adjuster, and an RTPE and then like the consultant. Because I feel like the line is blurring a lot in our conversation.
Yeah, it
what
really is.
Their roles are. And it'd be great if we could get like a clear understanding on that for us, or at least me personally, because to me it's a very blurry line between a few of those.
It can be. It can be. Well, we are way over time. All right, last one. Who was that? Who was that?
Hey, one of the things that I've noticed talking with a lot of the experts that I work with, forensic engineers and various people, there seems to be a shift in the insurance industry to the insurance companies used to want to know exactly what happened and why and how. That has changed probably the last 5 to 10 years. And they've gone to the more of approach of let's not necessarily know and see what we can defend or what we can probably get away with.
Exactly.
Or maybe
it's just like,
yes, close your eyes, cover up, and we'll just see what it comes out to.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Roll the dice.
There's a lot of the experts that I work with I'm asking them, how do you guys market your services to these projects? And they're scratching their heads like, because all the referrals, all the things they used to get from insurance companies are dwindling away. And
because they gave too much good information.
Well, and not only that, it seems to be more they're ending up more in courts and depositions to try to defend, a client or a insurance company or a contractor to explain or justify or reason as to why this happened and why it happened or what needed to happen. So it's interesting to see the industry shifting away from actually figuring things out and knowing and coming up with a legitimate game plan versus let's just try it, hope it works, and pray it all turns out okay in the end.
There is a complete disconnect, and I'm going to end on this statement and let all y'all go to bed. There's a complete disconnect between the executive level carriers and the frontline contractor. There is no communication. These guys up here, they truly believe they're doing the best job they can. They truly believe they're doing the best job for their clients, the insureds. They really do. There's about 100
people. Talked about RTPE.
What?
I left to be with you. And they talked about what Ames talked about.
There's 100 people
I love you too.
In between. I love you, David. Sweet. There's too many layers in between.
Oh, God. You guys heard that?
And
yeah, man, we did. We heard it all.
And what's happening is they're slowly realizing that they don't have a grasp on reality. And what we're doing is shrinking that in between people, and we're giving them good data. And that's what the RTP is about, is good data. And good data in the right hands does a lot of good things. Good data in the hands of somebody that doesn't want to hear it doesn't do shit. But I can't believe he was listening that whole time. Mr. Sweet, I love you. I love you guys. Have a great week. Stay in touch. Stay involved. Get out there on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where we're going to show the power of this group. Right now, we're in an echo chamber. We are talking amongst ourselves. There's 1,200 of us, but we are talking amongst ourselves, echoing. We're preaching to ourselves, which feels good sometimes. Well, a lot of time. Okay, it feels good a lot. But we need to take the message out, and LinkedIn is a perfect avenue for that. Just voice your opinion and see what happens. So you guys have a great week. We'll see you next week. See you.
Later, guys.